Alright, so today we're going to go into Mass Effect, and we're going to go over one of the species. We're going to do the Krogan.
The Krogan.
They're so important to the story of Mass Effect. Like, every game has you deciding, a political situation involving them.
And I feel like they're just important to you in general.
I mean, but that's also partially because the game, puts them at the center of everything.
Yeah. Mass Effect is the first game I think you talked with me about.
Yeah.
Like, tried to tell me lore about it and tried to get me to understand how, cool it was.
I would say it's my favorite game series ever. Yeah, so we're going to start there.
I'm excited.
I feel like that's the best spot where I'm going to be able to very articulately explain. That's not the right word. But explain what's going on.
Articulate your thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have those thoughts.
Yeah.
Because I know what's going on.
True.
So
no, I'm so excited. I feel like this is really true to a conversation that you and I just have.
Pretty much.
On a regular basis.
Yeah.
But now you guys are listening to it, so.
It's just the horrible times when you just have to sit through me talking about these things.
I like it. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Alright, so the Krogan, right?
Yes.
They're big reptiles.
Big boys.
Usually about over 7 feet.
Big boys.
Yeah.
Thick necks.
Yes. Which brings up, they are very heavy. So I went ahead and looked it up. So on average, they're going to be weighing anywhere in their normal range, 150 to 200 kilograms or kilos. Sorry.
What's the conversion of pounds?
See, I did that because
you did?
Yeah. I was like, why didn't they list it as pounds?
He told me that he did
people?
Some math for this, and I was like, math. And he's like, I couldn't find the answer, so I did some math, and I figured that shit out, and I was like,
no,
okay.
That's not even this.
Oh, that's not even this?
No. Okay, so they weigh 331 pounds to about 440 pounds.
Okay, that's big.
Now, that's not the biggest they can get. There have been, people that are like, hey, you know those thick boys? I've seen one that was, thick with 17 Cs.
17
Yeah. So, there's been Krogan that have been seen that are, approximately 800 pounds.
Oh.
They don't really, stop growing. They're kind of like a tortoise, other large reptiles.
Like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, yeah. The Hutts do just continue to grow.
Do you ever run into, an 800-pound one in the game?
It's kind of hard to say, because we don't really know exactly how large one of those would look. You do run into very large Krogan compared to the Krogan around them, or smaller Krogan, but you don't really have a great gauge.
You don't bring a scale around with you to whale out.
No.
Weigh.
Well, I'm really glad you're calling them whales.
They're
really sensitive about that.
Mean to.
No, they're not.
They do look like whales, kind of.
Probably the best way to tell if it's the larger size Krogan is that in Mass Effect 3, online, there's a character you can play called the Krogan Sentinel, and he's just massive.
Okay.
He's one of the tallest. I think him and the Geth Juggernaut are the tallest characters you can play as.
Okay.
He's likely the 800-pound Krogan.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
So, so they've got all that weight, right? They've also got wide-set eyes, so their eyes are far apart on their body, and that gives them 240-degree vision.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, comparable to us. I mean, humans are approximately 180-degree vision. Yeah.
Trash.
I mean, to a Krogan, yeah, it's just garbage. Absolute garbage.
Absolute garbage.
They produce a clutch of eggs.
A clutch?
Yeah, every year they produce clutches of eggs.
Aww.
Of up to 1,000. Every single Krogan woman could produce up to 1,000 eggs a year.
Where do I guess they're big, so they have room to store them, but do they have where do all what?
They probably come out pretty small, and then they just rapidly grow after that point.
I see. So wait, but she'll lay all 1,000 at once?
No.
Oh,
it'll be multiple yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, that would probably have killed.
That's why I was confused. I was like, where are they?
I see the concern. Let me assure you.
I'm like, I don't think they're small. They come out probably big, but...
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know even if that's an Earth year.
Right.
Because one of the things you learn in Mass Effect is all of the planets have different years.
Which
their
makes
cycle,
sense.
because it's their cycle around the sun. So Tuchanka, I'm not exactly sure if this is based off of Tuchanka's year or our year, and that would change how much time that is really. So
is Tuchanka their planet?
Yes.
All right.
They live on Tuchanka.
Tuchanka.
I love the name, don't you?
It's so good.
It's
I mean,
so
for some chonky boys. Like, it really...
They really are just, like, if you go to the Chonkers subreddit, it should be just full of Krogans.
I think so.
But it's full of cats right now, just really fat cats.
Which is fine.
I mean...
I like it.
Yeah, true.
Both are good.
Well, I know we had talked about weighing them before.
Yeah.
And then you called them a whale.
I didn't mean to.
That would probably actually compliment them, because if you've seen the Krogans, right? They have that shoulder hump, that big old bump on top of them.
Yes.
And you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Well, I can finally tell you what it is.
Oh, I didn't know there was, like, a purpose.
Yes.
I thought it was just their bodies.
It is their body.
Well, it is their body. This is true.
What it is that they store water and, like, nutrients in there.
Like a camel.
Yeah, 100%. So that they can go long periods without, like, food or drink or water, and so...
Yeah, those two.
Exactly.
Those three. Food or drink or water.
So yes, they're shoulder humps.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's been, like, stories of them being observed, like, a 55-gallon drum... or a 55-gallon tank of water being able to sustain, like, a colony of Krogan for 10 years or some shit. Yeah, it's, like, extreme levels of survivability in there.
Nice.
And when you have that much nutrients in your thick shoulder sack, you want to make sure that you're the only one that can get to it, right?
Yeah, I don't want to share.
So they got really thick skin.
Yeah.
So not only got that thick sack, they got that thick skin. Yeah. It's so thick that it's impervious to most cuts.
Okay,
and like scrapes. Like if it's a sharp enough knife and it's long enough, you're like, yeah, you can kind of cut them. But it's not that easy to like cut through a Krogan skin. But the other benefit of it is that they're also resistant to environmental hazards such as like overheating or being too cold or radiation. They're actually a little bit resistant to.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're kind of looking like Superman now,
yeah, pretty much.
Beyond that, they're also able to eat and drink stuff that's like toxic or should kill people.
What?
Yeah. Their dietary system is just like, well, I can handle all this.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it.
One of their like funniest parts is they're just like, they've got this drink called Rincol. Rincol will literally kill you if you drink it. Anyone other than a Krogan who drinks it will die.
Just
like
dead.
Right, like pretty much right there. But Krogans drink it all the time, and it's alcohol for them.
They're like, this shit lit, bruh.
Yeah, they really do love Rincol.
Dang.
Like, it's not even just like we have to drink it because nothing better is around. They're like, if you're not drinking Rincol, you're like a little...
You little bitch.
Exactly. That's exactly what they say.
That's so crazy that their bodies just eat whatever
they
have. I think there's like something where that happens in humans too. Where people are like eating metal and stuff, and they're like, I'm fine.
It's that thing that Shoe Nice has.
Who?
He's a YouTuber, and he just like he has that medical condition, and I can't remember what it's called.
Me neither.
I think it starts with an S, if I'm remembering it right.
Shit, eat whatever you want.
That's what it's called. But yeah, he just has a lot of videos where he's like eating a stick of deodorant, or like eating a whole pizza in like 2 seconds, or like not a whole pizza, but like a pizza slice in 2 seconds, which is still like
a lot of food.
Yeah.
But he's chilling, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked on him in a while. I hope he's okay. I hope none of this has really caught up to him and made him really sick.
True. Me too. Same for the Krogans. Well, I guess they're fine.
Yeah, we know they're fine.
They're fine.
Or are they?
Oh.
But beyond that, they also have like a set of like plates on their head, like bone plates.
Bone plates.
Yeah, so that's what gives them like that little hard shell thing on their top head.
Mm-hmm.
When they're young, it's like just a bunch of loose plates, but when they get older, it like starts to solidify into like one big one.
Like a human skull.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that is pretty much the one weakness to a Krogan, is those plates. There's a soft spot. So there's a character in the game called Zaid Masani, who's like an elite mercenary, and you recruit him, and then you put him in the garbage room of your ship, and you leave him there.
And you were like, bye.
Yeah, I mean, I usually just recruit him and never really talk to him, because all he does is he tells me about his like war stories, and after you've heard all 4, you're done.
Aww.
So he just cycles through them again.
Aww.
Yeah, and then I'm not kidding about the garbage room. He's like right by his bed is the trash compactor, and then it's just like
great.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't live in great conditions on the Normandy.
No, why don't they give him somewhere better? Does he like it there?
I guess he doesn't complain.
He's like, listen, I don't have to have a trash can. Just
I mean, you can recruit him pretty early, so it's not like it's a space issue. He just always wants that garbage room.
No, well, to each their own.
I mean, he just really is interested in sanitation and waste management, which you can't really fault him for, because that is a very important role on a starship. I'd say if there was trash laying all over the place on a starship, people would be pretty upset.
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. I mean,
although they would not have to worry about ants.
Because how would they get on the ship?
Yeah.
What if they stowed away in someone's like luggage?
Oh, that would be hell. Your whole like ship would be infested with ants.
Oh my god, that's probably what would happen though.
It wouldn't be ants though; it'd be Vorcha.
Oh my god. Something worse.
Anyways, so there's basically with those plates. Zaid said there's one little spot that not a lot of people know about, and probably not. I think it's like a handful of people outside the Krogan know about it, and then the Krogan keep it as like a closely guarded secret.
Yeah.
But there's a spot where if you can get a knife under it just right, you can pop their plate off really easily.
That would hurt like hell.
Yeah.
It's like your toenail getting crunched when you hit the table.
Yeah, and it usually means that the Krogan's gonna die because you can just stab him right in the... Like, he has no protection at that point. That's a huge open wound, and it's like in his head.
Poor baby.
So,
I don't like that.
Yeah, Krogan don't like that weakness, but, that's kind of their only weakness because they also have multiple major organs.
Really?
So, yeah.
Just a backup.
Yeah, they just have, like, redundant, like, copies of their organs. Like, they have 2 hearts, 4 lungs, and this is specifically stated, they have 4 testicles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's 1,000 eggs.
I mean... It's like an echidna, but with the testicles and not the penis heads.
An echidna has 4 penis heads?
Yes. It looks it's like crazy when it comes out. Anyways, but yeah, so they have 4 testicles, and so they use like, you know how we would say like grow a pair or yeah, they say get a quad or like grow a quad.
Get a quad.
Yeah, theirs is a quad.
That's funny.
Beyond that, they also have a secondary nervous system.
What?
Made of neuroconductive fluid. Yeah, and so they have their like primary one like we would have.
Yeah, with like nerves.
Yeah, and then the secondary one is more like a fluid that goes throughout their whole body.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost impossible to like paralyze one. So like if they got in a really bad fall off of the stairs, like just, trying to take those groceries up and, you know, the one bag rips and then the beans slide under
everywhere.
Foot, and you just like stumble around in midair for a while and blink and look at the camera and wave and then fall on your neck. Yeah, they just get up and walk off.
So it just doesn't, the fluid just doesn't get damaged?
Well,
because that when you said fluid, like it reminds me of how your like inner ear works, how the fluid moves around and hits the little hairs and the little hairs and the little signals and then to your brain. Is it like that?
It's more like blood.
Oh.
Like it's coursing throughout their body.
Okay.
And when you shoot them in the game, you do see like kind of like a yellow or orangish fluid come out of them, and we're not 100% sure if it's like the blood mixed with the fluid or just that fluid or that's just their blood. Like it's kind of like, what is it?
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. They live for over 1,000 years for sure. We've seen Krogan, like Warlord Okir. He was over 1,000 years old, and then you have like Nakmor Drak in the 4th game.
Nakmor Drak.
Yeah.
I like that name.
Yeah, they made him the oldest Krogan you've ever interacted with. He's like 1,400. Does
he look old? Do they age visibly?
They do. So that's kind of the thing with Nakmor Drak too that I thought was kind of cool, and why it kind of sucks that he's in like that one, and I just don't really like that game. As much.
That one.
As much. Yeah.
We don't speak its name.
Yeah. But yeah, so he actually like looks aged, and he has like a bunch of his already like his redundant organs have like failed, so he's on artificial organs, and like he has a couple of artificial limbs as well. And you have a ship like medic, and they talk to you at some point and say like, yeah, he's slowing down. Like I think it's just more like Krogans usually kill themselves before they reach old age, so no one ever knew if they did have like an old age. But Nakmor Drak is kind of hitting this point where he's not healing anymore, as nearly as good as he used to, and he's got a lot of artificial like organs that are having problems because they're just old and yeah.
Oh, Nakmor Drak.
Yeah.
But he an old guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still like, but even though he's old, it doesn't mean he's not
powerful.
Yeah, he's probably
effective.
I think he carries the game.
Dangerous.
The first time you meet him, he like fucks up a whole like outpost full of people and animals.
Dang.
Yeah. So if that wasn't enough, if they do get hurt, they also have something called blood rage.
Blood rage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where if they get hurt enough, they just get extremely angry and rush in and attack whatever's hurting them, but they can't feel any pain.
Oh, like an
and
adrenaline rush.
They don't respond to it, pretty much, except they're just pretty much.
Except super duper mad.
Yeah, it's like when they should be like on the ground like dying, they're just not registering any of that pain or like failure in their body, and it's still
they're
functioning.
Just killing. They're slicing and dicing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad, and then you can't really reason with them that well when they get in that mode. Like, it's just kind of well documented that they don't respond to communication or logic. So
yeah.
It's like, so they basically sound like living tanks, right?
Yeah.
Well, what would you think a creature this large, with this much body mass and like a fortified head, would do for its, signature attack?
I don't know. I feel like I've only seen them like holding guns.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is if they can get close enough, they'll just resort to charging at you.
With their head? Their thick old plates?
They just run right into you as hard as they can. Now, here's the thing. This is where, now my numbers might be wrong, but this is where I did some like math to figure out what was going on.
This is the math.
I was just very curious about how much force would be behind a Krogan charge.
I would love to know.
Because everyone says it's basically fatal. You never want to get in close quarters with a Krogan. You're pretty much dead if you do.
Yeah.
So I did the math because I wanted to know like just how accurate is that statement. Because in the game, it's not exactly going to kill you every time unless you're on higher difficulty. So, with those weights in mind,
the 300.
Yeah, I went ahead and tried to calculate how much force they impact with, but I had to find their acceleration or their speed.
Yeah.
And that's not available. But what I do know is that they run faster than humans.
Okay.
So I'm going to take human speed to do the calculation, and what we're ending up with is like a low ball number of what they can do, because when they charge, it's extremely fast.
I see.
So we can run at about 10.6, sorry, not 10.6, 23.7 miles per hour. Sorry, I got
23.7.
Yeah, 23.7 miles per hour.
That's fast.
I mean, yeah, that's on like your average human. Like,
yeah.
Now, to calculate that, that's where I got 10.6 meters per second, because that's what you need to do for the calculation on force.
I trust you.
Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and skip the math part of it then and just say, so if we're looking at the lower end of their weight class of the 331 pounds, at 23.7 miles per hour, they would hit you with 357 pounds of force. Now, at their upper end of 800 pounds, no, I'm sorry, not 800, at 440 pounds, we're looking at 863 pounds of force.
863 pounds of force?
Yeah, 863 pounds of... Now, that's not even, like, the heaviest Krogan. I didn't do that one necessarily, because I think at this point we can probably see that's a lot of force.
That's a lot of force there.
Now, out of curiosity, I was like, okay, what's the quickest way that could kill you? And I was like, well, if it crushed your skull, that would kill you pretty quick.
Yeah, I think so.
So I looked up how much force it would take to crush a human skull.
Oh, how much?
520 pounds of force. So about mid to large size Krogan absolutely would just be able to murder someone just by running into them.
Crush their fucking head.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're very large.
So they just ram into you.
They're very much like relied on to be the soldiers of a lot of like private industries.
Great. Well, I'm glad you calculated that, because I feel like that really did help me understand what we're up against here.
We'll see if I even keep it in there, because I feel like I really stumbled through that.
Listen, it got out there.
Yeah.
Said.
Now.
This isn't a physics class.
Yeah. Except that my numbers are probably wrong, and you should consult your local scientist.
Yeah, just in case.
Now, with the Krogan being like that, what do you think their, what do you think their society would be like?
I would say not very, kind of like the Vorcha, like not very like soft and nice, more like brutish and like aggressive and tough.
Well, it is now. But originally, ancient Krogan society was actually like very cultural, very artistic. The reason being is that Tuchanka, where they live, they're not the top predator.
Really?
There are tons of like creatures that are much larger and much more powerful than the Krogan, such as Thresher Maws and Clixon and...
Wow.
Yeah.
And they prey on them?
Yes.
Whoa.
So...
On these giant, thick boys?
Yes.
Then what are these other things? I'm scared of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about them eventually, because I feel like some of them, you know, you gotta give, you know, a full episode to talk about it.
Okay.
Thresher Maws are basically worms that are half a kilometer wide, or long, and...
So an Alaskan bullworm?
Yeah.
It's big, hairy, and pink!
Exactly. Except it's... I don't think any of them are pink.
None of those things.
Well...
They are big.
Yes. And they have tentacles, but I guess we can call that hair.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So they're just swallow them up.
Yeah, exactly. What that did was it meant that the Krogan couldn't really, like, overpopulate their planet.
Yeah.
Because they were being eaten off, and, like, so, yeah, they'd lay, like, 1,000 eggs a year, but how many Krogan would make it to adulthood?
Oh my gosh, there's so much death in the Krogans on their planet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, eventually the Krogan get to the Industrial Age, and industrialization kind of makes things easy. Life is very easy at that point. Things are being automated. The Krogan aren't really struggling as much. They start to become more powerful than, like, you know, their Thresher Maw attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's still Krogan would just outright die to a direct Thresher Maw attack on themselves, but they're getting better at figuring out how to live with them and deal with it. So as a result, you know, their population starts to kind of explode.
Oh, good.
So then the resources start to dwindle because they live forever.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So it just ends up becoming constant all-out war all over Tuchanka.
Oh no.
Yeah, to the point where basically the history of it is from the Industrial Age until the Nuclear Age. The Krogan were just constantly at war. And their only real development of new technology was to make better weapons and better ways to kill each other.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Dang.
Which leads to, there's a reason I say that kind of stopped a little bit in the nuclear like era.
Mm-hmm.
They nuked themselves.
Yeah, like they just are all gone.
The whole planet became engulfed in like nuclear winter. And for 2,000 years, the Krogan had to fight each other to survive in that until they were eventually found by Solarians. Like that was it. They were essentially just gonna die off.
Oh my god.
But as I said, the Solarians found them. And they're like these little geek aliens that just like run around. They're like amphibians. They're really intelligent. And so they do a lot of science and they study biology a lot. And developing species. And they see the Krogan are about to die, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and do something called a cultural uplift.
Oh.
So they introduce themselves to the Krogan and say, all right, let me take some of you guys off Tuchanka. We're going to give you, like, modern medicine for, like, space-age aliens.
Okay.
We're going to give you spaceships. We're going to give you massive spaceship-destroying weapons. We're going to give you food and water and, like, other planets that you can live on, and you'll recover.
Okay.
And they did. And they were really grateful. And the Krogan said, this has been great, so fantastic. Thank you.
Fantastic.
It's been amazing.
My
Fantastic.
planets and my food.
Fantastic.
And my big old ship.
And so the Solarians said, well, you know, I'm really glad that you like that, because what we're going to do next is we're going to fix Tuchanka. And so they tell them about the plans to build something called the Shroud, and it's a giant tower that they use to terraform the environment so that Tuchanka is more livable.
Right.
It's still not good. It still has problems with, like, radiation, but it's not necessarily, like, a constant winter, and it's not as dangerous anymore.
And they don't really have problems with that anyways, Krogans.
Yeah, well, I mean, nuclear, like, level winter is still not good.
Not a good place to be. Okay.
So it was definitely helpful.
Well, I just mean if they fixed it, like, a little bit.
Yeah. So the Krogan are kind of like, you know, that was great. How can we help out? Or, like, you guys need anything? And then they're like, you know, funny you should mention that. We're waging galactic war.
Oh no.
Like, non-stop galactic war against these insects that are incredibly smart, like way smarter than any of us. They can speak across, like, multiple star systems through quantum communication, and we just don't know what the fuck to do about them, and they're called the Rachni. So the Solarians basically brought the Krogans up out of extinction, or near extinction, in hopes that the Krogans would have their population explode and then be soldiers for the Rachni War.
Bullshit. I'm pissed.
And the Krogans said, hell yeah.
And they said, sign me up. Aw, man.
100%.
They just exploited them.
Yeah, so...
They exploited them.
So the Krogans, they do. In like 2 generations, they have enough like Krogans to fight the Rachni to the point where they're able to chase the Rachni back to their homeworld and just kill every single Rachni, and that's it. They're extinct now.
Wow.
And so,
they really showed up.
Yeah. So the Solarians go back to the Citadel, and they're talking with the Asari, which are both another, alien species. It's like the leaders of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you know what, Krogans, you guys are saviors. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make a fountain of you, put it in, like, the part of the Presidium, or the part of the Citadel where only, like, important, high-ranking people can go in, so you won't be able to see it. And we're going to go ahead and give you, like, a couple of planets, and you guys are saviors. And they said, hell yes. They go to their planets, and their populations keep growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets too big.
And then it gets too big.
It very quickly gets too big.
Yeah.
So they need other planets. So they go and they talk to the council about procuring more planets. And the council says, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, see.
And I've lied to you. No, they just decided to go ahead and invade other worlds and take them.
Oh, and so
So they were just going and like capturing planets where people live. Like there would just be a bunch of Asari like living on their settlement, and then a bunch of Krogans would just show up and they're like, all right, this is ours now.
And they're like, wait a second, I thought we helped you or some shit.
Yeah, and then they would just kill whoever wouldn't leave and just take it. And so the Citadel was like, or the council was like, hey, leave. Like,
yeah, don't do that, please.
Yeah, they said this is enough. All right, they got to the planet Lucia and they captured that one. They said, you know what, we're gonna need you to go right back where you were there. Let's put everything right back where it was. Overlord Krennic, the Krogan ambassador, was like, try me, bitch.
Try me.
Overlord Krennic actually said like, was daring them to take the worlds back and just left. So that
sass.
Yeah, so that started the second galactic war that the Krogans had to wage, called the Krogan Rebellions. The Krogan Rebellions are a long period.
Really?
They're almost 3 centuries.
What?
Because the Asari are one of the other alien species they're fighting, and it is the lead like council species.
Yeah.
They also live over 1,000 years. They're very long-lived aliens. They're also very powerful, but in a different way. They're biotic.
Oh.
Almost a lot of Asari are biotic. Actually, I think it's all of them. But...
And not like what does biotic mean?
So biotic in Mass Effect means that you have the ability to affect mass with like your mind through the use of implants and element 0 like concentration. So like for example, some biotics are able to throw objects around with their mind. Some of them can create singularities. Other ones can warp the molecules and armor. Yeah. Biotics is basically, the stronger you are at it, the more of a living god you can essentially become, because you can just move things around.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun.
That's basically all I ever play in the games. It's just so much fun to throw people around.
Yeah. So that's the Solarians?
Well, that's the Asari.
The Asari.
Yeah, Solarians are the amphibians, and they live like 20 years.
Okay. So
they just kind of trust what the Solarian ahead of them said a lot for politics.
I mean, when you only live 20 years.
Sorry, not 20, 40.
Oh, 40 that's years. Still pretty short, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so, sick.
Yeah. Well, it's taken a while to kill these Krogan and, like, get them back under control.
Yeah.
So, the Solarians make something called the Genophage. And then they talk to a non-council species at the time called the Turians. And they're kind of like, they're a little bit avian, and I'll go over them later because they have a lot of interesting history to them too, so I feel like they need their own thing. But what we need to know about them for the sake of this is that they are very militaristic. Okay. But they're very benevolent as well. Like, they're more of like a protecting military, like guards, police. They're not like necessarily hyper-aggressive like the Krogan are.
I see.
So they talk to the Turians, they say, we've got this thing called the Genophage, and it'll stop the rebellions. We need you to go into the shroud that they use to disperse the terraforming on Tuchanka and put in this Genophage so that it gives every single living Krogan the Genophage, and then it'll be genetic.
What's a Genophage?
I'm glad you asked.
I'm like, wait.
So the biggest problem with the Krogan is they have 1,000 eggs per year.
Yeah.
So the Genophage makes only 1 egg out of those 1,000 eggs hatch on average.
Oh, I think. Oh, you told me about that. I remember.
Yeah. So this is what essentially broke the Krogan. They get infected with the Genophage. genophage, and they know that the Solarians did it to them with the Turians deploying it, because the Turians then get a seat on the council and become a ruling species in the galactic civilization because they did this. Which just a reminder, the Krogan did prevent everyone from dying from the Arachni, but they had a bit of an anger issue.
Yeah, they were asking for too much. So.
Yeah, so the Krogan surrender. They just start taking terms of surrender because at this point they're looking at I'm not being dramatic. They say it's mountains of unborn children.
Oh.
Because they're still born. It's just they don't know which one's gonna hatch, if any of them will hatch.
It's just a bunch of eggs?
Yeah, and then they just rot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 1 in 1,000 live.
That's crazy.
On average. So that means that there are years where they don't get one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really like traumatic.
That is really sad.
So the Krogan essentially become extremely resentful of every other species in the Citadel because they know that they did it to them and they didn't give them the chance to expand, which,
And then they gave the person who did it to them a seat on the fucking council.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's hard because it's kind of like, well, if you guys didn't just take planets aggressively,
yeah, I know,
things may have been differently.
Right. But if whichever ones basically saved them just to use them as fucking soldiers didn't do that to them, then they wouldn't have done that either. Yeah,
but again, it gets to that point where like, okay, well, they're probably going to die through nuclear winter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bad, and the Krogan essentially live with this over 1,000 years. So there's Krogan that remember being fertile, that have the genophage now.
Yeah.
They've seen the decline of their species. They've seen what it turns them into. Nakmor Drak will have seen himself be fertile and then nearly sterile and then dying.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's just really bad.
That is really bad.
So they have no hope on Tuchanka. Like the entire species really, like, there's enough of the females refuse to leave Tuchanka. They come together and ban these like tribes of women because they go back to being clans and tribal.
Oh.
And the women are extremely valued, usually
queens.
Well, as a commodity.
Oh.
As a necessity.
Ooh.
They do have a say in politics, but being that the Krogan are just they're basically living testosterone. Yeah.
Just the physical form of.
Yeah, it's not really the smoothest interactions, and they all come off as pretty, like, aggressive.
Just mad. You're all mad.
I mean, they have a lot to be mad about, if I'm gonna be honest.
Pretty tragic.
I don't know if I've ever talked about anything nice about them so far, other than, like, they look really cool. But
yeah, their life has been pretty shit.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go to Tuchanka in the games, too, and you can see that Tuchanka never really recovers while you're playing the games. It's constantly just a pile of rubble everywhere, and there's, like, Krogans that will be, kind of hoping that they had a child, or even one thing that Krogans do, which kind of calls back to the 4 testicles, is they will buy other Krogan testicles online. Oh. And the reason they do that is because it's kind of our version of like Eastern medicine, where they believe that if they have, more testicles, they'll be more fertile.
Where do they get the Krogan testicles? Do they is it like
basically from dead Krogan?
Okay, from dead ones.
Yeah, someone takes them from Krogan, or if Krogan's really desperate and needs money, might sell them just because, I mean, a lot of them are just hopeless that anything will ever happen.
Shit. So they just have them in like a little cloche on their fucking... Yeah. On their damn nightstand.
There's a Dr. Salen who you fight in the first Mass Effect if you talk to your crewmate Garrus a lot. And if you talk to him about it, Dr. Salen actually grows Krogan testicles to sell on the black market. Specifically, like it's really bad. So being that they have no hope, they just kind of become mercs and pirates because they're very large, they're very fit for war and fighting, and there's not really anything on Tuchanka that's holding them there or that gives them a successful life. And so they go off and die as like mercs and pirates in foreign like galaxies not galaxies, star systems, but Tuchanka really can't progress because everyone leaves. Yeah. And Krogans that do just kind of hang out within like everyday society, like the Citadel, where the nationals or like all the species kind of live. But yeah, so like the Citadel is just a big space station where it's like the capital of the universal politics and the Milky Way galaxy. Mm-hmm. When they're there, they essentially only have the job as bodyguards or like bouncers dancers or in nightclubs or
right.
It's kind of like a status symbol, really. Like
a lot. You have a Krogan to like guard.
Yeah, and it's also like if you're going to a deal that's illegal and you think you might get mugged, if you walk in with a Krogan, it is something to think about. When, like those other people probably are gonna hesitate to attack or
unless they got like 2 Krogans.
Well, some people are just talented enough to be able to kill Krogan no matter what, but it's just, or well, I mean, it's still not easy, but it's just one of those things where it makes you think twice, like it's not the same situation you thought you were walking into.
Makes sense.
But,
well, I'm bummed out.
Yeah, well, and then that gets worse because part of the problem is since they're not staying on Tuchanka and trying to work for a cure for their people and they think they're all doomed, not a lot of Krogan become scientists.
Aww.
And those Krogan that are scientists are usually they're prioritizing weapon development more than a genophage cure.
Why? Just because that's what they've always done?
They are in non-stop wars with themselves now on Tuchanka because Tuchanka is essentially depleted again.
Yeah.
But they have to live on Tuchanka. They have no colony planets. They're not allowed any now because of the Krogan rebellions. So they need to develop better weapons so they can win. And
win against each other?
Yep, because if they don't, the other Krogan will and they'll kill them.
It's so bad. You guys are just gonna end up nuking each other and you're gonna have no one again.
So it turns out they actually start to overcome the genophage.
Okay.
Part of the thing with the genophage is that it relies on very specific genes and genetics to make sure that they cannot reproduce as well and that their viability of reproduction is lowered, but not eliminated. It has to be at a very set level.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually Krogan started to kind of evolve past it. And this was noticed by a Solarian who was monitoring the situation called Morden Solus.
Mm-hmm.
He works for like Solarian, it's called STG, Special Task Group, and it's basically Solarian, FBI, CIA, like they're like high-end secret agents.
Yep, they're looking for information. They're going undercover.
Yeah, but they're all scientists.
Because
Solarians value knowledge and intellects more than like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like even courting with Solarians it's contracts. It's not romance. But yeah, so he notices that essentially they're starting to overcome it and adapt to it. Their physiology is getting over the genophage and their birth rates are rising.
Sick.
Not good.
Why?
So the thing is that the Solarians still believe it's a good move because the Krogan had shown twice that if they had a population expansion, they would wage war with everyone around them. So the Solarians were trying to keep that at 1 in 1,000 as a birth rate because that keeps their numbers low enough that they do not have the numbers to go to war. And so it's
other people, but they're still fighting with themselves.
Well, but that's the thing is once they have a large enough population boom, then they'll band together and fight the galaxies. They keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So the Solarians constantly promote that they need to remain as sterile as they are. Not entirely sterilized, but adjusted because they live so long and they can give birth to so many different Krogans.
I agree. It just sucks because it's like, well, we don't want you guys to fight us, but y'all can just fight each other.
Right. Yeah. It's
But when you start fighting us, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, so what Morden does is he adjusts the genophage. He creates a modified one, which is incredibly more difficult because you have to have the original genophage in there and then put an additional genophage on top, which doubles your chance of causing an issue of either being ineffective or completely sterilizing all Krogan. But he did it because Morden is a complete and total genius.
Smarty pants.
Yeah, and he keeps the birth rate at 1 in 1,000, and he constantly quotes, because you actually get to recruit him in Mass Effect 2,
mm-hmm.
he constantly quotes that, he didn't want it to be too little or too much. You keep it balanced, and it keeps the galaxy safe.
Aww,
and
good
every
for him.
Solarian constantly fights with that.
Why?
Because a lot of them, there is still Solarians that believe that the genophage needs to be cured, because this has been over 1,000 years of Krogan just seeing mountains of their dead babies and being restrained to Tuchanka. And...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they should have 1,000 babies.
Yeah.
But less, but more than 1 out of 1,000, maybe.
And this is essentially the problem that you run into in every game with the Krogan, is that every game someone or some organization is trying to affect the genophage. In Mass Effect 1, your archenemy Saren, he literally starts cloning Krogan, which is supposed to be a cure to the genophage, because at that point you don't have to worry about the genophage, you just make more Krogan through cloning.
But that doesn't really solve the issue of, like...
No, it didn't. And then the other issue was that they would then be slaves to Saren.
Right.
If you have a high enough Paragon level, or, well, it might work for Renegade as well, but basically if you have a high enough speech and charisma, and you speak to Rex, because he shows up on the planet, you can try and back him down from killing everyone, because when he hears that there's a cure for the genophage, he wants it.
But it's not what he thinks.
No. That's why you have to convince him that it's gonna make his people slaves.
Rexy boy.
Yeah, because
he just wants to help everyone.
Rex's whole story, and I should say Rex is a Krogan crewmate you get in Mass Effect 1.
And also the name of our past spirit dragon.
Yeah, he was a good boy.
He was such a good boy.
But yeah, so Rex's whole story was that he was trying to help Krogans reunite on Tuchanka, and he was trying to go with more progressive modern ideas rather than the traditionalism that a lot of Krogan were adapting, because they just essentially were digging in their heels, and it was an us versus the galaxy mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas Rex is trying to help them figure out a way to continue to live within the galactic community now and get things righted for the Krogan.
Me boy.
So then he had to meet with a clan leader from a rival clan that didn't approve of what he was saying. So they met at Sacred Ground, and the whole idea is that when you meet at this ground, you enter with no like bodyguards or no thugs, and you don't have any weapons on you. This is like hollow ground where it is completely unacceptable to attack each other on it. And when Rex shows up, a bunch of the rival chieftains' bodyguards pop out of the skeletons of dead Krogan all over the site and start to attack Rex.
What?
But Rex brought people too, and so they start fighting them.
He's like, I knew y'all were gonna fucking do that!
Yep, and do you know why he knew?
I don't know why. Because he was gonna do it too?
It was his dad. And his dad pulled a dagger and attempted to kill Rex right in the middle of the room, and Rex had to kill his dad with that dagger.
His dad? No.
Yeah. At that point, Rex gave up on helping the Krogan and just said that they're hopeless, and so he went off to become a mercenary.
Yeah, well, when your dad tries to fucking kill you, what can you believe in?
Yeah, and so when you meet him, he's just very upset about the genophage and very fatalistic about his species, and he doesn't really have hope for him. But when he sees Saren has a cure, that's like the one thing that wakes him back up, and it's really hard to talk him out of it. You end up having like a standoff with him where you're trying to talk him down, and if you fail it, you have to kill him. But the good news is if you keep him, Mass Effect 2, you visit Tuchanka for the first time. You have to go to Tuchanka to deal with a little bit of business with Morden and another Krogan that you pick up called Grunt. If Rex lived through Mass Effect 1, Rex becomes the clan leader of Clan Urdnot on Tuchanka and essentially becomes like the most powerful Krogan in that area because he's the largest clan and the most successful clan.
Yay!
And he's constantly uniting Krogan clans to him, and they're trying to be more progressive and work on dealing with their issues as opposed to individual issues. And the clans that don't want to work with him, he basically just like he drags them along. Like he's like, no, you're gonna succeed, and I'm gonna make you succeed.
I'm gonna help you.
Yeah, and then the Krogans that try to attack him, I mean, they don't really do well because a lot of clans are allies of Clan Urdnot or Rex, so Rex barely has to fight his enemies as much anymore because like allies will help him.
Aww, what a glow up for him.
Yeah, and he's so happy to see you.
Aww.
You're like his best friend. He's just like in a meeting and he sees you in the crowd, and then he just like sees you and he's like just immediately like gets up and runs over to you, and he's just like pushing people out of the way like, yeah. Yeah, and he helps you with everything, but he just can't go with you because now he's responsible.
Yeah, because now he's got duties.
Yeah, and then in the third game, he is the leader of all Krogan. Well, he's the stand-in leader for all Krogan, I should say. He represents them in like your Galactic Summit. There's still like another clan that wants to fight Rex, and it's led by his brother.
Why? Why does his whole family want to fucking kill him?
It's just how Krogan are. That's what, like, Rex talks about it. He's like, that's what the genophage did to us. It turned us into animals, killing each other for scraps. Like, and if you cure the genophage in the third game, he says that you gave them hope. Which is why it's really tricky, because you also have the option to not cure the genophage, or to even not cure the genophage and lie and say you did. Yeah.
Be a little snake?
Yeah.
To your best friend?
Yes.
No.
It's easier if he died in the first one then, because if it's his brother's a dick.
Yeah.
It's just, pretty bad.
Well, that's crazy.
Or Grunt, the other one I was talking about. So you meet him in Mass Effect 2, and he was the first pure Krogan cloned by a Krogan. Warlord Okir that I was talking about, it was like over 1,000.
Yeah.
He made Grunt, and it was supposed to be his legacy, to be able to avoid, he said it was to mock the genophage in the best way possible, to ignore it.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's just their little warrior culture.
Just you're so angsty like that.
Yeah,
You're
they
just
said,
like,
we're really
fuck
tough.
you then.
Yeah.
Fuck the genophage.
Fuck it, I don't even want to look at it.
I don't have to birth.
They said, I'm going to put that over there, and that's just not part of the game now. But, so Okir dies just through your standard shenanigans as Commander Shepard, and you take Grunt, who Okir said you couldn't have before he died, because you're like, you know what, I came here, I need something. And you wake him up from his tank, and he tries to kill you, and you make him see that you're a powerful leader and that he should follow you, and he starts to do it. And he introduces you into Krogan puberty. Grunt is not a full-grown Krogan. All the other ones were, but you fleshed Grunt early, so he has not gone through puberty. So he gets extremely aggressive in the hold. He's like tearing it up, because he lives in the cargo hold.
Oh.
That's just where he likes it.
Okay.
Because it's where his tank was.
Oh, okay.
So he just like starts bashing windows and throwing things around. So you're like, okay, we're gonna go to Tuchanka and get you checked out.
Something's not right here.
Yeah. And Rex just takes a look at him. He's like, here's the thing. Cloned Krogan are very like frowned upon.
Yeah, I don't like it really.
They, like the Krogan themselves, want to kill them. They are the lowest factor in their society.
It's like, well, it's not their fault.
Yeah, because they
didn't ask for this.
They're not true Krogan is what they say. But Grunt's whole thing is that he's perfect Krogan. He's like the best traits of all the Krogan in Okir's bloodline perfected. So
he's
he
like,
can
no,
be the
you
best.
guys, you don't get it. I'm better than you.
He kind of is. So Grunt's super young, and you take him through his rite, and it's basically like a rite of passage, a maturity ritual. And what he has to do is survive in the wilderness of Tuchanka. And a shaman for the Urdnot clan will call in different animals, and as long as the animals will fight him and you live for 5 minutes, or as long as the animals keep attacking, you pass, and you're part of Clan Urdnot, and you're an adult.
Sick.
Well, a Thresher Maw attacks when Grunt is doing a ritual.
Well, that's not fair.
And that's supposed to happen for all Urdnots.
Oh.
The whole point is that the Thresher Maw is supposed to be a metaphor, because realistically you can't kill the Thresher Maw, because you're just like a couple of Krogan, or in Grunt's case, just like a couple of people, like 3 people, versus this giant Thresher Maw.
Right.
You just need to hold out and survive as long as you can.
So it's a metaphor.
A metaphor for how they have to live now, because the genophage can't be defeated, and they just have to hold out as long as they can.
Damn, they really were like, we're gonna take this, we're gonna make it real.
Yeah, and if you die, then you die.
Then that's it.
Yeah, there's no like, oh, sorry, yeah, that was just it was a trained Thresher Maw. That was just to make sure you knew. No, if you died, you were weak and you aren't a Krogan.
Well, shit.
Yeah, so you get there's 2 outcomes for it. Either you just survive, and that's fine, or you go for the real ending and you kill the Thresher Maw. And then everyone's really impressed, and Grunt has become the biggest stud of Clan Urdnot, with tons of like females submitting requests for mating rights with him. And everyone's like, the last person who was able to do that was Rex, because Rex is like a highly talented warrior and a biotic.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's biotic too?
Yeah, Rex is.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's rare in Krogans, but when they have it, they are extremely powerful biotics.
Damn. So he gets all the ladies.
Yeah, Grunt's doing pretty good in Clan Urdnot. And that's just kind of how they interact. I mean, in the 3rd game, they develop it a little bit more, where you can kind of see where it's like the new and the old Krogan, and they're kind of like butting heads a little bit, especially if you have like the Citadel DLC. Like, once you have the parties, you kind of get to see them compete, and they even start headbutting each other to assert dominance, because that's just what Krogan do.
Yeah.
But
cool.
in the 3rd game, you don't get a Krogan companion. That's why everyone hated it. That's the sole reason.
I mean, I'd be mad too.
They are like, you know what'll make up for it? Instead of getting a Krogan, you'll get this guy named James. And we'll release an animated film about James.
Is James cool?
Yeah. Do you remember the film we watched?
I do remember. That was it.
Yeah. Do you remember the guy that was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't save them. If I could trade places, I would.
Yeah, that's
James. That was
James. I like James.
So in the 3rd game, you have to deal with his guilt.
No.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Or you could just not.
You could just say, shut up, James, you're being a little baby.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could just not talk to him ever.
Boys don't cry, James.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he ever really cries in the 3rd game, but he did in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like I learned a lot about the Krogans.
Yeah. There's a lot more to them within the games, but I feel like even some of the things within the games, like the Blood Pack, the big Krogan gang, is something where I'd have to cover it on its own. And
yeah.
I mean,
I think we went through a lot.
Yeah. And so, what do you think? You like them? Hate them?
I like the Krogans. I feel really bad for them. I feel like their life is pretty shit.
Yeah, it's really just
just a lot of using them and then abusing them and then leaving them to like kill each other and then creating something that makes them really sad and then like I don't know, and then they're all fighting each other again and there's no resources and then
yeah, it makes it really, I don't know, for me it makes it hard to take it personal when you're playing the game and a Krogan's like aggressive. It's kind of like, you know what, your whole life is just shit.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
And do you have a lot of it?
If you have to hit me a couple times to like get it out of your system, like
well, no, I'm not gonna let him to do that shit because like
true.
What did I just say? 520 pounds of force.
If you want to talk about it, yeah. I'm here.
Yeah, if you want to like, tell you what, go ahead and punch it like the wall or like shadow box it out, bro.
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's how I feel about them, but they're good babies.